tribe could get federal recognition by the end of the week. Seriously, it could happen that fast, and that is a big deal considering the tribe out of southeast North Carolina has been fighting for it for the past 137 years. Here's a quick timeline of that. North Carolina gave the Lumbee Tribe state recognition back in 1885. And between 1888 and 1933, the tribe got Congress to consider federal recognition 8 different times, but they all stalled or failed. In 1956, Congress passed a bill acknowledging the tribe, but it didn't come with any of the benefits, like the funding for health care and education and things like that. So the tribe kept fighting. Since 1999, Congress has considered full federal recognition for the Lumbee 29 times, and 29 times they failed to get it until this week. Well, why is that? Well, you might remember back in January, President Trump issued an executive order directing his administration to give the Lumbee what they want. 11 months and a little change later, and here we are. So what happened over those 11 months? Why is this time different? I asked WRAL state government reporter Will Doran. So, Will, we've detailed all of the different attempts the Lumbee Tribe have come close to this happening before. What makes this different?
Well, it's really just the matter that this bill is coming up for a vote. It's not a standalone vote. Those have failed for years and years. Now they're tacking it onto something that really has to pass, which is the Pentagon's budget, the NDAA, or National Defense Authorization Act. And by getting that added to this bill, it pretty much guarantees that it is going to happen as long as it stays in the bill as written.
How did it get into that bill?
Well, there's always good backroom deals made up in Congress. And what we know is that one of the senators in charge of writing the Pentagon's budget is from Missouri. And we've seen that North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis has been voting against all sorts of federal judges being confirmed for Missouri. So, a little strong-arm politics happening here. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Suddenly, Lumbee recognition, a priority of Tillis's, winds up in the Pentagon's budget.
Here we are. So if and presumably when this passes into law, what could change here in North Carolina?
Well, it would be huge for North Carolina. And, obviously, out in Western North Carolina, the Cherokee are opposed to this. But for southeastern North Carolina, really impoverished part of the state, we could see a ton of money flowing in from the federal government because of this recognition for things like education, healthcare, community services, but then also the big question that people have, a casino. Obviously, Robeson County, the epicenter of the Lumbee Tribe, is right on I-95, huge thoroughfare just south of Fayetteville. Could there be a casino built there? This would open up the door to that.
All right. Interesting stuff. Will, thank you.
Thanks.
It is really interesting. Interesting enough that I think we should unpack it just a little bit further. We should also say, as Will kind of mentioned there are some other tribes that do not like this, do not support it at all. The chief of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians responded with a statement, and it reads in part, "We are deeply disappointed and alarmed to see the inclusion of Lumbee recognition," which some of you might find a bit surprising. You see, this opposition is a big reason that the Lumbee's attempts have failed so many times over the years. Other tribes, just like the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, argue that the Lumbee tribe, quote, has not met the historical or legal standards required of sovereign tribal nations. And you know what? They aren't wrong. For decades, the path to federal recognition and those all-important federal dollars that come with it was through the Office of Federal Acknowledgement. And this is a rigorous process. And the Lumbee tribe checks many of the boxes, but not all of them. The Lumbee say they're descended from some combination of several different tribes. They've also gone by several different names since 1885, the Croatan, the Indians of Robeson County, the Cherokee Indians of Robeson County. It wasn't until 1953 that they finally settled on Lumbee. This is why the Lumbee have been taking their case directly to Congress. They want lawmakers to make an exception for them, and the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians don't like or want that exception. Their statement continues, saying it risks tying tribal identity to unrelated negotiations, adding the standing of all federally acknowledged tribal nations becomes more vulnerable to political shifts rather than being anchored in history and law. And it does make sense when you put it that way. The thing is, Congress has made exceptions before. One of the most recent ones was just right in 2019. Lawmakers approved the federal recognition of the Little Shell tribe of Chippewa Indians of Montana. So So why them and not the Lumbee? Well, money. That tribe in Montana only has like 6,000 members. The Lumbee Tribe has around 60,000 members, which is a lot for an American Indian tribe. There are 574 federally recognized tribes in the U.S. All get a share of billions of dollars in federal funding. About 40% of those tribes actually are in Alaska, and they are made up of about 100,000 people. So that means at 60,000, the Lumbee Tribe would get a pretty big slice of the pie. That's money that helps pay for public safety and social services and education, but that's not all. Recognized tribes also get lots of control over what they do with their land. For instance, North Carolina law doesn't allow casinos, does it? But we do have tribal-run casinos, run by the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians and the Catawba Indian Nation. The Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians also sells recreational marijuana. Can't do that in the rest of the state. The state won't even pass medical marijuana. So you add up the Lumbee now into that mix, and the other tribes, they get hit with significant competition in both industries. And that's why the Lumbee have been at this for so long. It's not just the history and the law and the politics, it's the money. The House plans to vote on the defense budget with the Lumbee recognition tucked inside tomorrow, and we will, of course, let you know what happens. Tell me what you think about this story. Send us an email, 7 p.m. at WRAL.com. Do you support the Lumbee getting their federal recognition? Do you side with some of the other tribes and what they're saying? What part of this story do you want to know more about? Tell me what's on your mind, and we will go in depth.